The real sacrifice. After the great war of the Mahabharata, Dharmaraja, the eldest of the Pandavas, ascended the throne of the Kurus, and his four brothers served him faithfully. Hundreds of thousands of warriors had died in the war. Many women were widowed and children were orphaned. There was a great pall of sorrow and gloom all around, and wailing rent the air. In those days, kings used to perform great sacrifices to please the gods and seek peace of mind on such occasions. Dharmaraja therefore performed a yajna to bring peace to the kingdom. The yajna took place for a number of days. Hundreds of Brahmins chanted the sacred mantras and poured oblations into the holy fire. Thousands were fed daily. Wealth, clothes, and cattle were freely distributed to one and all. The water used for such charities flowed like a river in spate. All over the kingdom, people praised this as the greatest sacrifice ever performed. One day, when Dharmaraja was thus distributing wealth, a strange mongoose appeared from somewhere. One side of his body was golden and the other side was the usual grey. He rolled in the waters 2 or 3 times and muttered to himself in human words, "No, no, this is nothing in comparison to Saktuprasta's sacrifice. No, nothing at all." Everybody present was astounded. A mongoose speaking like a human being and deprecating the great sacrifice of Dharmaraja. Could there be a greater sacrifice than this one where nothing was lacking? Dharmaraja bent down and asked the mongoose, "O strange mongoose, you appear to be extraordinary. Who are you? How did you get the ability to speak like a man? Who is the Mahatma Saktuprastha of whose sacrifice you speak? We are eager to listen to his story. Please tell us about him." The mongoose turned to him and replied, "Emperor, I am happy that you want to hear his story. For such is his glory and piety that even speaking of it again and again I am not content. Listen and decide for yourself whether I spoke the truth or not. Long, long ago, even before the time of your forefathers, there lived in Kurukshetra a poor Brahmin called Saktuprastha. He had a wife, son, and daughter in law. They lived by begging. Despite their utter poverty, they were content and never coveted riches. Even in their poverty, they were very hospitable and never turned away a guest without offering him food. Any guest was as a god to them, and whenever a guest came to eat with them, they considered themselves very fortunate. Then the great famine came. Food was scarce everywhere, and Saktuprastha had great difficulty getting food for his family. Now and then they could get a few grains by gleaning in the fields, but often they had to remain without food for days together. One day, after starving without food for many days, Saktuprastha got a little flour from somewhere. With a great feeling of relief, his wife soon cooked it and all of them sat down to eat after dividing it into 4 equal shares. Lo, before they could commence, a poor Brahmin in torn clothes appeared at their door looking famished and hungry. All of them rejoiced at the sight of a guest. They rose and welcomed him. They brought water and washed his hands and feet. Saktuprastha then invited him to partake of their food and bless them. The guest was only too eager to oblige them. He readily agreed and took the seat offered to him. But where was the spare food for the guest? Saktuprastha brought his share of food and with great reverence placed it before him. The guest, who was very hungry, soon finished it. The host could see that his hunger was not satisfied and he needed some more food. Saktuprastha's wife called him aside and pointing to her share of the food, requested her husband to offer it to the guest. Saktuprastha felt very sad. He said, "My virtuous wife, it is the duty of a husband to feed his wife and children and sustain them. For a number of days there has been no food in the house, and you have been starving. How can I deprive you of your food now? Lord, am I separate from you? Is it not equally my duty to participate and share in your duties, joys, and sorrows? When a guest comes to our house, it is our duty to satisfy him. Please don't hesitate but offer this food to him," she replied, considering himself fortunate to have a wife who encouraged him in doing his duty. Saktuprastha placed his wife's share of the food before the guest, who ate it very quickly. But alas, he was still casting hungry looks all around. Saktuprastha's son then came up to his father and said in a low tone, "Father, the scriptures say that the son is the reflection of his father. I am duty bound to discharge all your debts. The duty towards a guest is the greatest debt which we should discharge. O Father, please offer my food to the venerable guest so that my duty can be fulfilled." Saktuprastha was reluctant to deprive his young son of his food, but he had to give in to his request. So he placed his son's food also before the guest and requested him to eat it. Unmindful of what was happening, the guest ate it all and again looked up for more. Then Saktuprastha's daughter-in-law came forward with her share of the food and said, "Arya, I am the better half of my husband and all his obligations are mine too. Please offer my food to the guest and satisfy his hunger." Saktuprastha was in great misery. In a choking voice, he said, "My daughter, I brought you from your father's house, promising to look after you like my own daughter. But here you are, always starving and famished. Your delicate frame has grown emaciated. Let me not commit a further sin by taking away your food." The daughter-in-law replied, "Don't grieve, dear father. I am the daughter of the house and have to share all its joys and sorrows. Only by doing my duty can I attain punya. Please be merciful to me and accept this food." Saktuprastha took the food from her hands and placed it before the guest. As the guest was eating, they were all apprehensive lest he should still be hungry after eating this too, for there was not a morsel more in the house to offer. But their fears were groundless. There was a look of replete satisfaction on the face of the Brahmin as he ate the food, and when it was finished, he got up to wash his hands. Rejoicing that the guest could be fed to his satisfaction, Saktuprastha came forward and washed his hands and feet. Lo, as he did so, the poor Brahmin in tatters vanished, and in his place stood a radiant god, looking kindly at the whole family and smiling benignly. His smile lit up the entire house. Greatly wondering at this transformation, the family stood in awestruck wonder, not knowing what to make of it. Then the god himself spoke. "Don't be surprised, O Saktuprastha. I am Lord Yama and I came to test you. I am pleased with you all. You need no longer stay in this miserable world of sorrows and troubles. You will immediately be taken to Vaikuntha to stay permanently in the blissful presence of Lord Narayana." Thus relating the story of Saktuprastha's rare sacrifice, the mongoose added, "O Dharmaraja, crouched in a hole in that house, I saw and heard everything that took place there. When everybody left, I crawled out of the hole to eat the crumbs that were lying on the ground. As I ate, my body touched the water on the ground with which Saktuprastha had washed the feet of the guest. Instantaneously, that part of my body which had touched the water turned to gold, as you can see. The crumbs that I ate gave me the power to speak like a human being. See how holy the sacrifice of the Brahmin and his family was.
It was a true yajna. It was true sacrifice and true austerity. Ever since I have been wandering all over the earth and dipping myself in the holy waters wherever a sacrifice is performed, hoping to turn the rest of my body into gold too, but to no avail. As you saw today, I dipped myself in the holy waters here too, but my color remains the same. That is why I said that this was nothing compared to the sacrifice of Sakturasta. The mongoose said in conclusion. Dharmaraja was filled with great joy and exclaimed, "O mongoose, today is a great day for me, since I could listen to the story of a man as pious as Saktuprasad. Verily, no sacrifice could be greater than his. His is the true sacrifice. His is the true austerity."